Hi guys, it's Jeff at Slavens Racing, and I'm up here in the mountains today doing a little testing. I'm testing suspension and some new get maps and a few other little things, and just want to stop here for a minute and tell you about my suspension. This is by far the best suspension I've ever had in my life, and it's all made by MX Tech, and I've helped them develop valving settings for rocks and roots. So this is called the Slavens Mule National Shock by MX Tech. And this thing has a lot of different adjusters, you know, all the usual ones, low and high speed compression. And it's got, you know, the regular rebound, and it's got a low speed rebound adjuster too. And it's a billet, you know, this is all billet. This stuff here is all billet. It's not cast like on the stock shock. Same way down here. This rebound adjuster down here. And that clevis, that's all billet. And they don't come with that shock spring. That's a special spring I had made for myself. They come with a white spring, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're white. Anyhow, this shock is absolutely amazing. You know, to me, when I'm testing suspension, I want to kind of forget about it. I want to just go enjoy my ride, and if the thing starts doing the huckabuck and kicking here and there and not getting good traction and stuff, well then, you know, obviously the radar goes up and I start really focusing on the shock. But for the most part, you know, if you're out having a great day, and that shock doesn't kick you once, it tracks through everything, it gets excellent traction, and it, you know, just does every single thing that you can imagine well then that's a damn good shock, and that's what this one does. I mean, this thing never kicks, never. Of course, I'm sure if you're a big boy and you have your ass planted on the back of the seat and you ram it into a big ledge, yeah, maybe you're going to get a kick, but that's a riding issue, that's not a shock issue. So this shock is absolutely fantastic. Jeremy at MX Tech makes these from the ground up. It's like I said before, it's a billet shock. It has a coated shaft. It has a coated body. And the best thing about it is when you buy other types of shocks, you know, there's other great shocks out there. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely other great shocks. The Trax shock, Öhlins, you know, those are both great shocks. But all shocks and forks are only as good as the valving that's in there. So if you think you're going to buy one of those other ones off the shelf and just bolt it on and have the best shock in the world, probably not. Now, if you buy an Öhlins or a Trax and send it off to a really good suspension guy, there's very few of those around, and they hit the settings correct for you, well then those are also fantastic shocks. They're still a level below this shock. The shock has a huck valve system in it, which is a controlled anti-bottoming system, and by controlled I mean it can be set stiffer or softer. But basically what I hate is on a shock, you know, we all get lazy and sit down once in a while, and when it feels like it drives that shock shaft right through the seat and up your butt and hurts your back, this shock will never ever do that, and you'll never feel a hard bottom like that because of the huck valve system in there. So when I first put this shock on, I still had my revalved stock forks on there, and all it did was make the forks really feel like shit because they felt pretty good paired up against the revalved stock shock. But then after I put this baby on there, then I had to do something about the front. So inside here is the Lucky system, and here's what a Lucky system looks like. Okay, so it's pretty badass. The Lucky system has excellent machining, it's excellent design, it's very functional. So this is just the outer cartridge, which is all part of the kit. This is what's called the base valve. This section through here would be called the base valve, and then this part in here is part of the hook valve. And so when they're installed, it'd be in here like this, and then the hook valve would come down into this. The spindle would come down into this cup like that, only at bottoming. So that's what that looks like. So the hook valve is tunable for a suspension person, not externally, and you really don't ever need to mess with them. I mean, the hook valve just flat ass works. I mean, it stops any hard bottoming. Those are the preload spacers that come with it. Also comes with springs. Those are included in the price. And the shock is very highly machined and then coated. This is the spring guide that screws onto the end of the spindle, and then this is the cap. So this is just one side. It comes with 2 of these cartridges complete, and a pair of fork springs. Now the cartridges that you just saw there are easily installed by if you're a relatively competent home tuner. If you weren't born with 10 thumbs or half a brain, well then you can get them in there no problem. I mean, except you just the very bottom of the fork, you have to pull out a piece down here. I'll show you that. Let's see if I can see this new one here. Yeah, so that's the new adjuster that comes with the Lucky system. So these Luckies are adjustable. You've got compression on both sides on the bottom and rebound on the top. So the Lucky system, like I said, is easy to install because you're just basically pulling out the old cartridges and putting in the new ones, and then bleeding the oil and setting the level. But if you're not comfortable with that, I totally get it. But even your local shop could put it in, or definitely any halfway reasonable or halfway competent suspension shop should be able to put them in. And then you can see that the caps look a little bit different than the stock ones. And then I've got STR bleeders in there. But these things are pure magic. Excellent anti-bottoming resistance. They're very comfortable on the rocks and the roots. It tracks extremely straight. It has a much more stable feel than pretty much anything I've ever ridden. And box stock, these XCW models, it's the XCW TPI or the XCW EXC, they're all the same bike. It's a great chassis, but the suspension really holds it back because you start pushing them and they feel just wiggly and wobbly. It's like sitting on your grandma's couch or something. I mean, they're still harsh on the rocks and the roots, but everything else they're just mush. And so this makes the rocks and the roots very compliant and comfortable. Gives an excellent stability when you start pushing it hard. I mean, you can nail whoops through this thing like nobody's business for a trail bike. And it's still not going to be like riding a Marvin Muskin's 450 factory bike through the whoops, but on trail whoops, it's amazing. I mean, trail whoops that I used to back out of, now I shift up and get on the throttle and go. And there's lots of other options out there for forks. We sell several other options, and there's, of course, you can send them off, have them revalve. But the best thing about both of these systems is the Lucky and the National Shock is they're set up for off-road, and the National Shock is totally custom built for you. So when you order a National Shock, it takes 5 to 10 days. Usually 5 to 7 days for them to build one, and then they just drop ship it directly to you. But it's custom built for you. It's custom built for your weight, for how you ride, for the type of stuff you ride, obviously for your bike, and it's a totally custom built shock. So it's not something like an Öhlins or a Rock Shock where when you spend a bunch of money, then you got to send it off and have it set up for you. No, this is ready right out of the box. So the Lucky kits are not quite as custom, but they do have my Slavens Mule set up in them, which is for rocks and roots. You know, if you're a motocross guy, well then that's the wrong one to order. We do have ones for motocross. We have the Lucky kits for motocross as well, or really fast stuff if you're a 5th, 6th gear desert racer, well then this setup would be too soft. But the Lucky kits come with the springs, cartridges, and all the adjusters, and they're very easy to install. They work exceptionally well. I just can't say enough good things about this system. And if you want to know more, just give us a call or drop us an email, info@slavensracing.com. Also be sure to join our YouTube channel and our Facebook page so that you keep up with all of our latest updates. And please take care of your trails, be a trail ambassador, buy a chainsaw, get out there and cut out the downfall, or at least help your buddies that already have a saw, and take care of your trails and do what you can to keep them open. That's all for now.